boys.
Keep it calmer like Carson Palmer, and then I'm mailing out
casual.
heat like the Unabomber.
And on that note, episode 1 has begun. Ladies and gentlemen, if you hate Merab Dvalishvili and you resent him for holding Jose Aldo against the fence, this is the podcast for you. Welcome back to episode 1 of Punching the Clock, featuring your 3 favorite TikTokers transitioning over to the podcast game because, you know, the podcast world is not saturated enough, but we're here to bring you the takes you guys want. It's your boy, Eric Maddie. We got our boy Jens here, Flagrant Sports on TikTok. We got Hato, Last Round Luz, checking in. What's going on, boys? How you guys doing tonight?
Wow. I'm doing good.
What's going on, lads? How we doing?
Doing great, doing fantastic. UFC 287 coming up this week. What a great week to start off the show, boys. Tons to talk about. We're going to get into all the X's and O's of this shit. We're not here to talk surface level. We're how to go balls deep on these fights. And what are you guys feeling about UFC 287? Big card coming up. Some early impressions. What do you got, Hayden?
So for me, my favorite fight in the card, I mean, of course, we got Jorge and Burns, right? Everyone's looking forward to that one. I feel like a lot of people are putting their money on Burns, but there's still a lot. I'm seeing a lot of love for Jorge, which I like to see. And of course, I'm looking forward to the second fight, or the fourth fight with the main event. But the fight I'm really looking forward to is Rob versus Yanez. You know what I mean? There's a lot in the line there. You know what I mean? Rob's getting older, but it's a big step up in competition for Yanez. So I'm very interested to see how that one goes. Jens, what do you think, buddy?
Okay. I'm just going to go over real quick because I want y'all to mainly talk about this because y'all have been gushing about this a long time. So it would be criminal if I stole the spotlight from y'all. So I'm just going to go over a couple things real quick. Mainly, both these guys have, I think, stylistic parts of their game that could give each other trouble. It's just a big question of how legit is Adrian Yanez. I think that's a big question. He hasn't faced the upper echelon or even really the middle echelon, I'd say, of like wrestlers, strikers. So seeing him go against like one of the best volume strikers in all of the UFC, let alone the bantamweight division, I think is going to be really cool. I'd like to see for Rob. For him, I'd like to see more wrestling out of him. I think Rob's wrestling is just a little overlooked. I mean, when you think about it, he's the first person to ever take down Cody Garbrandt. He's one of 8 people to ever take down Jose Aldo. And
I mean, it's easy to take down Cody when you beat the brakes off him, but you're right. You're right. Like Cody, you know, shell of himself. He's getting battered, but no, totally. His wrestling is a huge factor.
Yeah, he's getting tattooed.
Yeah, it's so the one of 8 against Jose sounds like 8's a lot of people, but when you think about how storied Jose Aldo's career is and how lengthy it is and the amount of wrestlers he's gone against, that's actually an impressive feat. Even at bantamweight, Jose's takedown defense, just ask Merab, like we said in the intro, it's not easy to take him down no matter what weight class he's in. So I'd like to see more wrestling from Rob Font. What else do I got on here? Yeah, Yanez's takedown defense is unproven. So I think that's another reason to utilize his wrestling because he's only had like 6 attempts shot on him. And of course, it's been no one that's noteworthy with the wrestling.
Not like real committed attempts either. Just some we're kind of clinching on the cage. Let me maybe check on a single leg, but nothing committed.
So if I'm Rob Font, I'd like to go in there with more wrestling, but also I guess to support Adrian Yanez's side and kind of see what he could do. I think it is a big question mark and a bit of a concern on Rob Font's side that he's been knocked down 5 times in his last 2 fights. Like no matter how you want to cut it, that's not great on your chin. He's taken a lot of punishment. He is getting older in age, so those are all pluses for Adrian Yanez. Like I said, though, it's just a big question of how can he get it done, Yanez, that being against the top guys. Can he deal with like the active jab of Rob Font when he struggled a lot with Randy Costa with that? So yeah, what do y'all think?
Well, before we really dive into this fight, just because we kind of looked over it a little bit quickly in the intro, I was kind of talking a million miles an hour, just to give you guys a heads up, kind of what to expect from the show today, and always we're going to talk mainly our like 3-ish favorite fights on the card, try to get into as much detail as possible. And we're going to also answer some subscriber questions. If you guys have questions, you can always leave them in the comments, whether it's on TikTok, on here, wherever you're listening. And we're also going to just have a little fun segment at the end called our Beef of the Week. So stay tuned for that. And they always say have a call to action. So please like, subscribe, just support the boys. we're just branching off and wanted to bring you guys something. So yeah, feel free to support us. And before we really get into it, I just want to know, like, Jens, I'll throw it back to you. Like, what do you think to date of Adrian Yanez as a prospect based on what you've seen?
Well, I also want to say when there's not weeks in between cards, we will be recapping the previous week too.
Oh yeah,
But as far as Adrian Yanez, he's an extremely talented fighter. You can't deny that. His power is pretty not unusual in the bantamweight division, but you just don't see a guy at 135 who has as much power as him. Like it's not as common in those lighter weight classes. So I don't know, he's a very powerful guy. He's a good
Hmm.
counter striker, but it's one of those things where it's like he doesn't really he doesn't, like you said in your breakdown, he doesn't create opportunities for himself to be an effective
exactly.
counter striker.
Yeah.
He kind of just sits there and he doesn't really do anything to be proactive so he can be reactive, as Hato likes to say a lot. He just doesn't do a whole lot for himself in that aspect. And so whenever you're going against a guy who's very active like Rob Font, that could lead to a lot of issues. I think he has all the talent in the world to be a top guy as far as the bantamweight division. Like, he could get to that top 10, maybe top 5 ranking. He has that talent, but it's just like I said, it's just how far can he go? How legit is he? Those are just questions that all need to be answered in this fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My thing with Giannis is that, like, he's super exciting to watch, and I do think he's, deserving to be inside the top 15. I'm sure he'll hold that ranking for a long time. But my thing with Giannis is, as great and as much as his boxing gets praised, just his striking in general, it's just not a very layered approach. And I've
Mhm.
maintained for a long time that once he fights, the guys that are really out there thinking and processing stimuli and adjusting throughout the fight, those really elite guys, those Corey Sandhagens, as we saw against his
Yeah.
performance against Marlon Vera, I feel like he has a pretty easy puzzle for those guys to figure out. And it's, you kind of know what you're going to get. Again, if he, like, his striking, if he paired it with, you know, a great proactive wrestling game or even a kicking game, like, I would feel a lot higher about it. But the fact that his
Yeah.
toolbox is really quite limited to his hands, um, I just do think that's not. And again, as I mentioned many times, like, and as Jen's pointed out, he doesn't really create opportunities for himself. You see a lot of his fights, if his opponent isn't just charging forward, he's not really doing a whole lot. He's not really creating those openings for himself.
Mhm.
I guess it depends on the matchup, and I'm sure he's more prepared to create those opportunities for himself as times progress, knowing he's fighting these higher echelon guys. The Tony Kelly fight was a good look at some of his game against not
For
a great
sure.
fighter, but a guy throwing a bunch of kicks. You saw those beautiful pairing the round kicks to the body, across his body, and counting with a left hook. That was a beautiful thing to see into his game. But I really want to see him level up in his striking, create those opportunities. He has a great jab, but he doesn't, like, it's very rare you see
It's
him.
very sorry,
Yeah,
go for it.
no, yeah, like, I know what you're about to say. He doesn't, it's just not something he uses to create
Yeah.
other openings for himself.
It's a
I
very
think,
basic one-dimensional jab. It's
yeah,
not like a stinging, you know what I mean, thunderous jab. It's a very just
it could be
pouring them
good though.
out there.
It could be
Yeah,
good. And when he does tend to have his opponents, like, backed up closer to the fence, you do see him start to become a little bit more aggressive. And
for
if he
sure.
can get those guys high guarding against the fence, like, he tears high guards up, like we saw in the Costa
Hmm.
finish, the Kelly fight, great body puncher, great combinations. Once he gets comfortable to really let his hands go in combination, but he's not a guy who, like, again, even all these little things that I've mentioned so far, like, another one could be if he was just a more committed pressure fighter and really
Hmm.
having better offensive ring craft and ring generalship and
He
cutting
gives
off
up
the
ground a lot.
octagon. Yeah, if he really committed to that, that could even take him up another level. Like, he has such great, like, feet to be a great forward pressure fighter. Like, he's
Hmm.
he's not crossing his feet over. His feet aren't coming together when he's moving forward. He's taking small steps. Um, he's taking the appropriate angles to stay with his opponent as they circle and not walk into shots. He has so many, like, built-in strong fundamentals but I just want to see him, use them, more to their full potential and develop
Yeah.
that game. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. I think those
Hmm.
high level guys can figure him out. But Rob Font, give him a lot of credit as a striker, but he is a guy who you do, for the most part, on the feet, know what you're going to get. Like, Rob
Hmm.
Font kind of approaches all fights, whether he might approach them a different way, but it all kind of unfolds quite similarly.
Yeah.
Um, once he
J-
gets
Just
hit
to,
a couple times. But yeah, go ahead.
no, just to backpack off what kind of both of you guys are saying. Jens, you said he was powerful, and there's no doubt about it. Adrian Yanez definitely has crack to him. But as Eric mentioned, it's when guys are coming straight forward and he's just finding that shot. So you take a guy like Rob Font who has that natural raw power. The guy has huge hands too. He has paws. You heard Dominic Cruz mention it before. So I'm just a little hesitant to say he has this tremendous power going up against a guy like Rob Font, who has finished guys like Matt Schnell, who has finished guys like Marlon Moraes as well.
Who hasn't finished Marlon Moraes? Sorry,
Relax.
Well,
he finished Marlon Moraes before. He finished Marlon before it was cool. Well, let's call it
Stray.
Before it was a trend.
There was no reason for that stray at Marlon. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, Marlon. Just got his leg broke in the PFL. Sorry.
Literally.
Yeah, no. I feel like you guys touched up on a lot of good points. Doesn't really create a lot of his own openings, but going into this fight, as you mentioned about the high guard, how he can take advantage of guys. So if he was able to implement more of a forward pressure game against Rob and back him up against the cage, Rob does like to implement that high guard, and as Eric mentioned, he could take advantage of that. And we saw that in the Randy Costa fight when he was able to find himself in that boxing range where he was comfortable. He has flashes of brilliance.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that Randy Costa fight, because I think that's definitely. I think if you're Rob Font going into this fight, you're looking at that Randy Costa performance that Yanez had, and you're licking your chops.
Yeah, you're licking your chops.
And similarly, in Yanez's credit, you look at how Rob Font poured volume on Jose Aldo, poured volume on Marlon Vera, and got cracked and had rounds stolen. Yanez is looking at that pretty optimistically as well. But I want to start at the Costa fight because I really think it's key to this fight, because I think no doubt, Rob Font is he's in the red corner of this fight. He's walking out second, right? It's his ranking that they're fighting for. But there's a lot of intrigue in Yanez because I think he has to make more adjustments to win. I think Font has more of a built-in style to beat Yanez, assuming his chin is still in decent, he's decently durable after his last couple of fights. But Yanez, I think, clearly has to make quite a few adjustments here and shown evolution since that Randy Costa fight. So going back to there, what are some of the stuff that you guys noticed that could be carried forward into this fight?
Hayden, you want to go first?
Yeah. So what do I feel can be carried over into that fight?
Well, like I said, Costa obviously poured it on with, all the guys Yanez had fought up to that point were just, quite frankly, quite low level strikers in the grand scheme of things, who didn't really, the very linear fighters who would get frustrated and just charge forward. And Yanez just had field days, just, inside slip, cross counter, left hook. And then he gets a guy in Randy Costa who's very, very long for the division. He's very fast, and he doesn't just fall for it in the pocket. He fought disciplined behind his jab without giving up the easy cross counter.
And he had that double attack as well.
Yeah, that great double attack with his kick, right? His high kick, he came out spazzing in the first round, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. He threw like 13 high kicks.
Yeah, it was just high kick. And Yanez, it really kind of froze Yanez up because he likes to, subtly take his head off the center line and counter, but all of a sudden the head kicks are coming up over his shoulders and he doesn't feel comfortable slipping his head, and then his head stuck on the center line. Costa's peppering on, with just basically, he'd throw one right hand every 6 jabs, but the jabs are just coming, and had Yanez totally froze.
I feel like there's something to be said for Yanez in a way, though, for how he was able to keep his composure as he was getting absolutely tattooed, but staying dedicated to the game plan and finding the openings in order to inevitably get
I don't even think it was a matter of staying. Yes, he definitely stayed composed. I'm really glad you shouted that out, because you've got to be real composed on a Rob Font's fire. But I think
it's two different fighters to talk about, though.
It is. It's a vague comparison, but there's something to be said about that against fighting a guy who he couldn't just cross counter because they were long and fought at that range. But I think the fact that he's able to adjust mid fight, and one of the big things that I saw him adjust in that fight was, first, he kept trying to, as Costa would pepper him with jabs, he would try to slip. Slip would be outside and jab back. So as the jab comes, he slips, throws a jab back, jabbing with him. And he was having misery because, number one, he doesn't have as long reach as Costa, but the main thing is that Costa was dictating the timing. And if you're purely reactive against a guy pushing that extreme of a pace, you're going to have a hard time jabbing with him. And so to see him kind of, especially like near the end of the first round, as Costa did start to gas, and into the second round, he got away from that. And what I love that he started to do is he started to low kick against the jab. So as that jab came, right, all the weight goes onto the front foot. Well, It technically shouldn't if you have a nice jab. It shouldn't go into the front foot, but still, Costa would overcommit on the jab. He'd just slip.
When the hands can't reach, the feet can.
The feet can. He'd kick that calf. And Costa, again, because he was gassing, he wasn't ripping the head kicks as often, which made Yanez a little bit more comfortable to start slipping and throwing the counter low kicks. But that was a great adjustment by him. And the other thing that I saw that he started to do was get his own jab going. Once he started slowing down Costa's jab with the low kick, Yanez started getting his jab going. And I think that really led to the finish of him starting to not only, even if he would jab with Costa, he'd add a second one to start stealing that initiative back. He'd get Costa moving backwards, and he tore the high guard out. So that was really impressive.
To backpack on that, brilliantly said by you. Take what you just said about Randy and then put it into Rob. Just
who's not going to gas.
Who's not going to gas. Who's
extremely durable,
who does very well in 3-round fights, and who has just this offbeat tempo to him when he's throwing the jab. You know what I mean? You never know when it's coming. He breaks it up with the low kick, creates his own exit angles, which, as we said, he's not a linear fighter, which Yanez is going to struggle with. I think
he's way less linear than Costa. He angles off the jab perfectly, stepping off the center line.
For sure. You know what I mean? I feel like the experience and the veteranship from Rob, and not to mention, this is kind of one of these cheeky things, but like they said about Kai when he fought Moreno, him being a new father, I feel like that's going to be a newfound motivation for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think Rob's going to get it done. What do you guys think?
I think I'm slightly leaning Rob too, just because of the unknowns about Yanez's game at this level, and like just like y'all were saying, the attributes that Costa presented against Yanez that gave him trouble. That's like Font, but better. Like
it's different levels too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When you want to get down to it's a different level from Randy to Rob. You know what I mean?
Right.
Both Boston natives and all that stuff, Massachusetts natives, but it's from Randy to Rob. It's a different level. From the jab to the footwork to the every aspect, it's a different level. And like you said, is Yanez ready for that? We're gonna see. And not to already throw dirt if Yanez was to win, but as we all three of us has mentioned, Rob is 37 now. He's up there in age. He's not a spring chicken anymore. And also it's not the worst of matchups that he could be seeing, say like a Corey Sandhagen, a Song Yudong,
for sure.
You know what I mean, guys like that. Even like a Chris Gutierrez, like that guy does not get talked about enough.
I think in Font's favor is what I look at his performance versus Sergio Pettis, going back quite a few years. But I think how Pettis approached that fight is very similar to how Yanez approached a lot of his first 4-ish UFC fights. He's starting to add a little bit more layers to his game. But that, if you look at just at a snapshot, Font versus Pettis, if Yanez hasn't shown significant improvement and doesn't come in prepared with a game plan and, have that kind of humbleness to say, okay, to beat these top guys and a guy like Font, I've got to add a little bit more to my game. I know I'm 5-0 in the UFC, but if he doesn't make those adjustments, I think it could look similar to that Pettis versus Font fight where Pettis, again, he was happy to get out volume and just try to look for that cross counter over the top, but Rob's angles were too good.
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry.
And just factors like that. But I do think there's keys to victories for Yanez. It's just not as black and white. Whereas Font, again, he's got to do what he does, and especially if he gets a little more. Again, also 3-round fight. He's fought a lot of 25-minute fights recently. He's really going to push a serious pace, and I think his wrestling could be a huge factor. And we talked about Yanez being a little bit unproven in that category. But again, I do think, it's you kind of have to not make it up, but you have to imagine he's going to make these adjustments. I think there is a path to victory for Yanez for sure. Again, if he can slow down the jab with the calf kicks, if he can get his own jab going, and commit to some forward pressure, which is super hard to do against a guy like Font, but it's not going to be easy the first, 3-4 minutes. But if he can crack him pretty good, it could change the outcome of the fight, and then commit to forward pressure, because Rob doesn't go away if he gets hit once. No way.
Yeah, and like you said, when he gets hurt, and you can kind of call it a double-edged sword here. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, keep going.
When he gets hurt, he kind of picks up the volume. Aside from like trying to figure out,
he doesn't fall back on like real solid defensive fundamentals. And it can be like it got pretty bad in the late stages of the Vera fight where he's just
Cheeto
throwing
fight, yeah.
hands.
He's got
just
that
to
Robbie
discourage-
Lawler mentality. He said, "Screw
Yeah.
it."
On God.
What'd you say over there? What'd you say over there? Empty stats. I'm surprised you haven't dropped that one yet.
I said,
It's
he-
coming.
"Nah, I'm not
Great
going to hate
insults
on.
last a long time, pal.
I'm keeping the hate undercover. I'm not trying to.
Episode 1 can't be hating. too
Yeah, we
hard.
can't be
On God.
unless
on
it's
God.
Marab
Yeah.
So
nobody likes that guy.
anyway,
That
I
guy's
think there's a
insane.
path to victory for
or
Yanez,
Marais.
and I want to see him. I want to see him show some evolution to his game. I want to see the takedown defense, see what he's got there. And if he gets taken down, can he get straight back up to his feet? We just don't know. I think there's a path to victory, but yeah, he's got his hands full. But I mean, again, there could be the factor of the age with Rob. We don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
The worst
So
thing
who'd you-
that
so
could
who'd you pick?
happen. Yeah,
Are we making picks?
I'm
me
picking.
and Jen's pick Southpaw Robbie.
Mhm.
Oh, then I ain't going Rob. I'm gonna go with my boy Adrian Yanez, boy.
Oh,
See there with that
Christmas.
accent? Yanez.
Christmas.
He's got that little accent on the end.
I
I just gotta
Yanez.
go.
Owen.
I gotta go against the grain. How lame would it be if we all picked the same dude? Come on, we gotta have some beef here.
I respect.
But yeah, wait till-
Bro, he's gonna crack Font's that glass chin, baby. Font's gonna
That-
go, oh, jab, 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 jab.
The
boom,
empty
right hand over
stats
the top.
return.
Giannis hits like a 25er. All right, carry on.
I'm capping.
Can we?
I'm capping.
Can we just?
yeah.
I'll
I'll go Yanez.
No, I respect.
Okay.
You're gonna be wrong, but I respect it. It takes a real man to be wrong, especially on camera.
Yeah.
Boy, if you don't.
Do we want to get to the co-main event?
Yeah.
Okay. Co-main event: Jorge Masvidal versus Gilbert
Masvidal.
Burns. This fight's very interesting for a couple of reasons. One, real quick, that's what I was gonna say about the Yanez fight. The worst thing that could happen is like an early finish from Yanez. Like that would just completely suck if
Right before he even has to stuff a single takedown. I
Yeah,
want to see. I
before
want to
we
get
saw
some
any-
answers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Kind of like Jones and Gone. How
Yeah.
we're like, yeah, he won, but
Exactly.
it's like, would really get here?
right. And so all right, so co-main event, Jorge Masvidal versus Gilbert Burns. The big question, I feel like, well, there's a lot of big questions, but a big theme that could be present in this fight is I think it's a big theme is the age of Jorge Masvidal. Has it finally caught up to him? He's on a 3-fight.
Gilbert Burns is like 6 months younger than him.
That is true, but it's also a much different 6 months. This is a
What's the
Jorge
difference?
Masvidal. Well, Jorge Masvidal has been in the fight game since he at a very young age.
Did you guys know he used to fight in the backyards, bare knuckle
with Kimbo?
Yo,
With
what?
Kimbo.
Yeah, this dude's just been
The guy with the
through.
mohawk?
Yeah, he's been everywhere. He's been all around the game from Bodog to did he fight in Strike Force?
You betcha.
Yeah,
He
Strike
fought in
Force.
Strike Force. He
Guy.
fought UFC, obviously. He's just in the backyard. He's been everywhere. So
In the
it is
field.
it is a little bit different, the mileage, than it is for Gilbert, although they are pretty similar in age. I just feel like Jorge.
I think you're overthinking it a little bit, but
I don't know, man. He's coming off of one of the only knockout, really the
he looked
only
like shit against Colby. Listen, you're not gonna be the bigger Jorge fan than me. You guys know that, but he has not looked good. He did not look good in the second Usman fight. He did not look good in the Colby fight. You can
Yeah.
sit here and blame it on a stylistic matchup, but you can't to a certain extent. But let's call a spade a spade. Like, yes, he got dominated in the first Usman fight, but he looked sharp. You know what I'm saying? With the low kicks, everything, he just looked sharp off the opening horn. But he just really hasn't looked good.
Yeah, he
So
hasn't-
I
For
agree.
4
We
minutes.
don't know.
For like 4 minutes.
Yeah, whatever.
he
But
did
you know
stuff
what I'm
11
saying?
takedowns from Usman in that first fight,
Yeah,
which is
on
noteworthy.
6 days' notice. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
but with that said, going off of like recency, what we could expect is it going to be another looking like Colby where he just doesn't get off, just looks hesitant, is content with being against the cage, and
Mhm.
I don't know because and like I said, I'm going to say my breakdown from not tomorrow. I think the way they both are in their careers, for Gilbert to win, I think he has more paths to victory, but I think it's going to look somewhat reminiscent to the Wonder Boy fight, and he's just going to look for the path of least resistance, and that's trying to keep Jorge against the cage, kind of like Damian Maya style, if you will. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or like I said, he did to Wonder Boy. Because it's not, like I said, it's not to say Gilbert Burns can't strike with him in the pocket or can't do it as he chooses, but where he's at, the mileage he's had, the stakes of this fight, I think he's just going to try a lot of cage wrestling, simple combinations to get to the hips, work a lot of clinch to wear him down, and it looks to try to neutralize Jorge. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I think that is Gilbert's path to victory is not necessarily just taking him down, submitting him, or knocking him out, whatever. I think a lot of it will be just that fence work, just using his strength and not necessarily size, but he is I would say, a stronger athlete than Jorge is, just using that to his advantage. And it will be hard to take down Jorge Masvidal. It's always been hard to take down Jorge
Mhm.
Masvidal. And this being a 3 rounder, he's not gonna be exhausted in those later rounds. This is going to be, man, what concerns me were the statements he was making before this fight about how he's kind of thinking if he loses this fight, that's probably it for him as far as his career.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with Burns, though. I mean, let's be
I don't.
honest. Like, look what Wonderboy is at as well. Depending on what their fight contracts look like, you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? But Wonderboy is fighting. I mean, excuse my French. He's fighting fucking Michel Pereira. What are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
and
we're
Kevin
all
Holland.
Wonderboy. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? He deserves a
Yeah,
little bit better than that.
right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, my fault. Carry
No,
on.
you're good. I think a lot of it is just I think a lot of it's gonna look like that first Usman fight where it's a lot of cage work, a lot of just keeping them there, and yeah, like that Wonder Boy fight, just the path of least resistance, just keeping Jorge as least dangerous as possible, and doing that by basically neutralizing his offense and just keeping him stuck against the fence. If he can get him down, Jorge, when he does hit the ground, does have a very active guard and whatnot, but
Mhm.
I expect the top pressure of Gilbert Burns to neutralize a lot of that, especially if he can get past Jorge's guard.
But that's interesting. May I cut you off real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's interesting because I don't think Gilbert's going to be looking to just to hold him, say, in full guard. Because, like you just said, Jorge has a very active guard. He has a good job of getting feet on the hips and creating space for the elbows.
Hmm.
And where Gilbert finds his submissions is during the transitions. So I don't think he's going to be looking to spend too much time in one position where he's going to try to force Jorge to maybe get to his knees and give up his back or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But like I said, you could be right. My fault. Carry on.
No, you're good. I don't expect him to just play around in Jorge's guard. I don't think that would go. I just don't think that's a good idea you want to do. I expect to see a lot of side control work, probably some mount. I think that this could be not lackluster, but I could just see a fight where the fans get pretty angry because a lot of it's just Gilbert not stalling, but just
Yeah.
pressing Jorge there and keeping him there.
And
It's the
it's the
smart
Miami
way.
fans. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially there's gonna be a lot of booing this fight. I
And yeah, the
hear.
potential of this happening is quite high, I feel.
Hmm.
I think if Gilbert
Um,
is really committed, like he has the discipline that he came into the Wonder Boy fight with, because he was coming off the title fight loss. He had a lot of respect, obviously, for the threat of Wonder Boy.
of course.
If he has that discipline to, again, forward, efficiently and meticulously forward pressure and work his way to get Horace back to the fence. I mean, we I've been we I feel like we've been complaining about Jorge's defensive ring craft for his whole career. He's never going to learn to start circling off the fence. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
He'll circle a little bit and eventually he plants his feet and he gets pissed off and he tries to just throw hands to back you off of him. But he's never had that committed approach. So I don't see any reason why that's going to change now this late into his career. And speaking of evolution, I just had this thought today watching some old Gilbert Burns. Just like I watched like the old Dan Hooker fight. And quite frankly, Gilbert Burns, honestly, again, everybody improves. If you're training every day as a full-time UFC fighter at the top of the game, everybody improves. But in terms of like overall evolution to his game, Gilbert Burns, I honestly don't feel like he's really evolved that much over time. Like I really
Kind of
don't
like
think
he's kind of like Glover.
I really don't think he's much dissimilar to the dude who fought Dan Hooker, quite honestly.
So
Yeah.
I think
He
that
went up a
attributes just
weight
from that healthy
class and
weight
his
cut.
durability got a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I overall let's still think like the same shit that got him caught against Dan Hooker screwed him against Usman, right? Like just loading up,
Yeah.
just cannot take us like just loading up on the center line, throwing bombs,
And
not
Jorge can
having
take
the
advantage of that.
patience. Just I mean, I drives me crazy when people say like, oh, linear punches beat looping punches or whatever they say, straight shots beat looping
Three shots,
shots.
yeah.
Because it's not that simple. It's not even close to that. But with Gilbert Burns, quite often it really is that simple.
Yeah.
And even in the Hamzat fight, like a lot of the same shit got him in trouble again. And
Was it the
That
jab from Southpaw that
Southpaw jab.
Southpaw
Yeah.
jab, sat his
Southpaw
ass
jab.
down.
Yeah.
Both fights? That's crazy.
Yeah, and but I mean, I guess there is a bit of a new layer in his game in that Wonder Boy fight, and potentially in the Magny fight where he's, it's not even really like he's back to his jiu-jitsu roots. His wrestling is fantastic. He does great work from the body lock, with his kind of tripoding up on his head, maintaining the body lock and passing with good knee cuts. Really effective stuff. Again, he's always got the fantastic 50-50 game that he was known for in gi jiu-jitsu on a competitive stage in his back pocket. But if this is the evolution of Gilbert Burns' game, he says, okay, I had my shot at the title. He might, maybe, yeah, sure, he got impatient, but overall he fought his fight against Usman, didn't work out, and now he's one last run at the title, whatever his age is, 34, 35 now, and this is what he's got to do. I think he's really committed and focused on that, and it's I just don't expect that improvement from Masvidal to not just back himself on the fence without circling off effectively.
Yeah.
So Eric, I wanted to get it. My fault, Jens.
No, I'll just be real quick. Expecting someone at like 38 years old, who's been striking forever, to just suddenly add like this big aspect to his game defensively, I just don't know.
It's not like he didn't know what Colby was going to do. They trained for years together.
Right.
You knew
exactly.
You can't get backed up to the fence. And yet, like right away, the first round, the first time Colby has him up against the fence, what is he doing? Is he digging for like he has an overhook? Is he going to dig for an underhook?
No, he's throwing elbows.
No, he's throwing elbows at him.
He's trying to strike before he gets taken down.
It drives me crazy.
It's so
Defend
crazy.
the takedown, bro. You cannot get held up against the fence. You're losing if you're being held up against the fence.
Yeah.
And oh my God. So I don't expect, again, it's Jorge Masvidal. He's still a great striker. He still had some sharp moments on the feet against Colby. His low kicks will give Burns problems. I'm sure he could always catch him in the open, but who has, like, in terms of path to victory and like the most likely to be able to implement that path sustainably, it's Burns.
Yeah.
And it might not be entertaining, but he could submit him, honestly, because I feel like Masvidal I feel like late in the Colby fight, like you started to see him. I feel like you started to hold your breath a little bit, like, ooh, that was a little close. He just didn't have that same fight that he usually has.
Yeah,
and maybe it's a result of age or whatever. Moral of the story here: safe money is probably with Gilbert Burns. No idea what the odds are. We're not really we don't really get into the odds and shit on here, but
it's like 365, I think.
Is it 365?
365 money line, 650 knockout.
All right. Well, there's no value in the money line, but maybe throw it in a parlay, 2-3 fold parlay.
All right. Let me check.
Okay. We're not getting
a betting podcast.
We're not getting into the betting line.
No, not betting. I was talking about Jorge.
Okay.
What?
No, so you guys are picking Gilbert. You guys can take Gilbert. I think Jorge's gonna win.
Do you actually? Are you just trying to make this like dramatic?
No. I respect it.
We talked about this 5 days ago.
So you're
okay.
actually
Well, now you got to give us your reasons why.
Yeah, you got.
You can't just say it.
That's what I was getting. No, that's what I was gonna get into. You're like, no.
Okay. Let him go.
Before I was rudely interrupted. So, my thing is, yes, as we all mentioned, the safe money is probably Gilbert. There's a more passive victory for Gilbert to win this fight. However, I do think Jorge is that much more of an educated striker, to where, like Eric said, he's going to be able to use his low kicks to cut Gilbert off and stay away from that right hand. And when he is going to use his boxing, it's going to be more or less on the counter. When Gilbert Burns, like we all know, you've seen him fight once, you've seen him fight 100 times. It's that step in, big right hand. And I feel like Jorge can exploit things like that. Him really stepping forward hard, drop step counters, you know what I mean? He hits that left hook as he's circling out very well. Like I said, minimal ways for Jorge to get it done, but I do think there is a little bit of juice there. I'm going to be taking Jorge on a whim. I think the odds are the way they are for a reason, but
I'm just scared that I feel like lately when he fights a wrestler or a guy that is a threat to take him down, honestly,
is Gilbert a wrestler? But is Gilbert a wrestler though?
For sure.
He can wrestle.
No, okay, if he approaches the fight as a wrestler, and I think Masvidal respects the takedown a lot in this fight, especially coming off, maybe there's some scar tissue from the Colby fight. Like he's respecting the wrestling.
For sure.
I feel like when he gets these matchups, like he can be.
He respects it too much.
Too reactive. And then he just wants to counter. And then he's backed up to the fence and he's not circling off. And then maybe he still throws the low kicks, but he's not like proactive enough. And he's then putting himself in bad geographical locations to get shot on. And it can create problems for him. So
distance management's a big thing.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe his mindset's different again based on the comments he's made, and he's really going to go for it. And again, it's 15 minutes, not 25 minutes. There's all these different
Yeah.
factors. So yeah, of course, Jorge Masvidal for sure has a chance. So, and you know what? Just I'll talk about the odds quickly. But yeah, there's definitely, if you're going to bet on Masvidal, throw him in by finish. Probably get some nice odds on that. Yeah, you throw a flyer on it, or you can just
But
take it outright like Hayden. I respect
yeah.
it.
So you guys are going Gilbert, right?
Yes.
I'll go Gilbert.
All right. So let's see. Here we go. I'll take Jorge. I can be the odd duck this time and feel comfortable with it.
I got Gilbert
sure.
by like kind of like a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
of a
all right. Big boys are
lackluster
talking, gents.
decision. You know what? At least I'm not picking a dude who's 38 years old and been dominating in his last. This dude hasn't looked good since COVID.
Gilbert got knocked out by a jab twice.
Jorge has not looked good since freaking the
Jorge's
Trump
fighting for belts.
administration.
Gilbert Burns is fighting Neil Magny, number
He's fighting for
13
the
guy in the
BMF
division.
belt.
Watch y'all fucking lit talking about street
He's
gym
fighting
tonight.
he's fighting for the BMF belt.
He is the BMF. He's not fighting for. He is
No,
defending.
Leon's the BMF.
No, he's not. No, he's not. The belt's sitting on Jorge's mantle.
Oh
You're
my god! Is this
You're
Pride rules? Is this Pride where they just don't defend any
No,
belts?
it's WWE. If the belt's not on the line, it don't count.
I guess now it is with Endeavor, but okay.
See?
So
That was good.
now okay, so we've talked about the feature fight co-main. Now let's get to the main event, the one everyone's been talking about. If y'all didn't know, I don't know if y'all are aware about this, but Israel Adesanya has lost 3 times to Alex Pereira already, 2 in kickboxing, and then once in the UFC. And then like, man, I'm gonna give y'all some super in-depth breakdown here. Alex just has his number, guys. This is just it. Like, he just has his number, and that's all that needs to be said about this. There's like nothing.
Actually, we ran the DNA. He's actually literally his father.
Yes.
The X-rays came in. He actually has that dog in him.
Yes.
It's just
okay. So let's start first. Like, Jensen, you go first. Tell me why Alex Pereira is a bad matchup for Adesanya.
Why he is a bad matchup? Because he does he matches Adesanya's best skills in the sense that he can neutralize a lot of Adesanya's best skills, I should say.
Such as?
So his leg kicking, that's probably Adesanya's main tool for maintaining distance is his leg kicks. And we saw against Jan Blachowicz, we saw in Alex Pereira, their fight, that when someone can effectively check his leg kicks, his offense is not as effective as it usually is.
Just quickly chime in. I don't think it's how he maintains distance, but I think it's how he scores at a distance, which kind of plays in part of that. So I think you're on point, but just when he's not scoring at that distance, then all of a sudden, again, you can get the stalemate like the Jan Blachowicz fight, or if you're Pereira, you can build on that even further. But it's a huge factor, checking the leg kicks for sure. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so Alex being probably one of the best like leg kick checkers at 185, if not all the UFC. You could scoff, dog, but like we're basing it off of that one fight, and off that one fight, his leg checking was very, very effective, I'd say. In that 5th round, like Adesanya fucked up his leg pretty bad.
Adesanya grimaced quite a few times from a few checks, like even in the 1st round.
Yeah,
and like a lot of people didn't really give him credit because they're not like super firm, turn the shin all the way out checks. Like a lot of it's kind of like the dinky.
He kind of just flail. Yeah, he like
sometimes he's going heel to butt. But when you're purely kicking the calf, like you don't need a strong turned all the way out check, especially when Izzy's throwing them off and the damage is building up. But
so physically, he matches up with Adesanya too. Adesanya is at 185 pretty used to having like a height and reach advantage with everyone. Those advantages like pretty drastically lessen against. I mean, I would say they're both listed at 6'4". I think Alex might just be a little bit taller than Izzy. I don't remember off the top of my head what Alex's reach is, but I'd say
I think Izzy has an inch.
Okay, yeah. So either way, the reach advantage is very close. So I think that's a little bit.
I think it's 80 and 79.
Yeah, so I think that's a little bit of a difference maker in that. And then, man, it's just the strength of Alex, I think, gives a lot of problems for the strength and the power for Izzy, because we saw in clinch scenarios, like Izzy could not do anything with Alex in the clinch. He didn't have a whole lot of success there, especially when he was trying to get takedowns. A lot of the clinch scenario was Izzy trying to go for some sort of high crotch or something, and like Alex just was not budging at all because he's just so
Yeah.
big and powerful and has so much leverage. And also it's just Alex makes Izzy pay for being on the back foot, I guess, not being in the center of the octagon. He makes Izzy pay for that. He backs him up, he corners him, and then he punishes his escapes with that. Of course, everyone talks about the left hook, but the left hook is the big tool that was used in that fight.
How does he cut him off though?
How does he cut him off? He uses his jab, he uses body kicks. He just basically just mirrors him the whole time. And
One of my favorite things he does is he throws that outside calf kick, and it kind of forces you to go in a closed stance, of course. He throws the outside calf kick, and instant reaction is to go towards the left, which is the weak side, and he circles right into the left hook.
Yeah,
you see him do it a lot in that Izzy fight.
Yeah, and so he'll do stuff to encourage you to go into that left hook, like throwing body kicks, showing you that right hand, and just basically just doing everything to set that up. And that's why I don't really understand when people were saying that, like, oh, Izzy was winning that fight. Yes, he was winning the fight. Technically he was winning the fight, but Alex was doing everything in those earlier rounds to set up that finish. This wasn't a Leon Edwards.
We heard Eric say that.
Yeah, that's exactly what Eric said.
That was a bar. That was a bar.
And so like everything, this wasn't a Leon Edwards situation where it's just, boom, head kick. In the rest of the fight, he was pretty much just, surviving for a lot of that fight besides the first round. This was a finish that was set up throughout the entire fight. That left hook nearly missed multiple times. And then I will say one thing that Adesanya has the biggest advantage of, I'd say, and we don't know how this will look in the second fight, given that Glover's going to be a full-time coach now. But on the ground, it looked to me that Adesanya had a very significant advantage there. The big problem was just getting it there. I think a lot of his takedowns are going to have to come from open space. But yeah, what do y'all got?
Eric, you
I think, yeah. I know he's making.
He's spitting. No, he's spitting. He's cooking.
I'm just gonna like backpack off the stuff Jensen's saying because I think he laid it out really well. Again,
yeah, sure.
The fact that Pereira's so physically imposing out there, like matching him, being bigger in size, and matching him in reach, where Adesanya really, as he's furthered his MMA career, has become so much more used to and kind of dependent on having that reach advantage. Maybe not dependent, but the way that, again, as he's backing up to the fence and he's aware of that left hook, obviously. Again, Izzy's doing a lot of hand fighting,
hand checking, brought him to a
lot of hand checking, extending that lead hand and checking it. And Vajeda's not really taking the bait. Again, he's forcing him one way, and that checks obviously goes without saying, taking Izzy's hand away from his chin, obviously. Mm-hmm. And if Vajeda can clear that hand, which he does better than most guys, clear the hand right into the left hook, definitely opens up a significant opening. His footwork cutting off the cage is phenomenal. Again, I always say in MMA, like in terms of striking, you either want to be really low and have your legs bent to facilitate in and out movement, or you want to be on the balls of your feet, and that's what he is, which is really, really impressive. He looks a little funky, but obviously works phenomenal, really, really well for him. And just being really, really opportunistic, being super strong. And I have no idea where I'm going with this. So Hayden, please rescue me.
No, I like a lot of what you're saying, but let me touch up on Izzy a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Also,
go for it.
Izzy's jab, he made Izzy's jab look dog shit in that fight. Quite frankly, I mean, Izzy had a few. When Izzy threw like his sticky jab, where like you throw the jab, you hold it out there, he was able to catch him with the right hand twice, just because it's weird. You don't see it very often.
Yeah, it was the frames he was using, I feel.
Yeah, it's really
like the tempo and whatnot. It's just
a weird tempo. Like it's not even. I don't even really think it's really blinding Pereira. Like I get that the idea you hold the jab while it's just weird. But for the most part, his jab looked really, really bad. Just in terms of Pereira being able to parry it and Izzy not really building off it. And when he's not gaining or garnering respect with his low kicks and his jabs neutralized.
I was just going to say that.
He's just a sitting duck on the fence. And Pereira remarkably patient over 25 minutes. Again, I mean, for the most part, the hand checking, again, extending that lead hand away from his body, being in a southpaw stance to match lead hand for lead hand. For the most part, he didn't get clipped with the left hook for most of the fight, even if it was close at times. But it's Pereira's patience over that time and taking away those pot shots on the outside that score Izzy points that ended up just making the finish more and more inevitable.
Yeah, it was coming. So
So this fight, what are you guys seeing? What kind of adjustments are we thinking for Adesanya to give him the path to victory, or for Pereira to not fall behind on points as much?
can I go first?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
hey, go for it.
Sorry, I've just spent so much time that like I just have so much on my mind. So first of all, and chime in whenever y'all see something that y'all want to say. Of course, I'll try and keep this quick. I could go on for a long time about it, but so I think as far as the kicking goes from
All right,
Adesanya's
let me
game,
stop you right there. I'm just kidding.
the
Push
kicking
kicks.
game, yeah, I'd like to see more push kicks from Izzy, whether it's just like a push kick or like a snap kick to the stomach, just something to
Putting
not
water in the
only
basement.
yeah, I like that saying. Not only to just kind of slow down Alex's forward pressure, but also kind of just take away a little bit of that gas tank, just a little bit. And then I think that would be an effective tactic. We saw in that fight that whenever Izzy did get cornered and he did kind of circle away and hit him with a body kick, it did back Alex up and it did get his respect. And that was one way that Izzy was able to get the respect from Alex. Hayden pointed out earlier when we weren't recording, the feints from Izzy were huge. It's
Hold on, I'm
something
gonna cut
that
you off. I'm gonna cut you off because
yeah.
you're making great points, and I want to chime in on them. I love what you're saying about the push kick, especially with Alex being a very squared stance type of guy.
Yeah.
And if you're not landing your jab, you got to be able to gain some respect up the middle to obviously keep the distance and also gain respect. I think the push kick or snap kick up the middle could also open up some low kicks for Izzy. Izzy does it sometimes, but a guy like Sean O'Malley does it a lot. He switches stance off that push kick.
Well, that's what I
Lands.
said to Jen. That's what I said to Jens as well.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can land, you can step down to the opposite stance. You can have a little bit of a low kick to throw a leg kick, especially if they actually,
Cheeto does it a lot.
the main, push kick defense is, you slide back and parry across the body, but sliding back, you take that step back. As you step back in, now your opponent's in the opposite stance on a little bit of angle. You can hammer the low kick. That'll be huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the shout that you made on the push kick against that squared up nature of Alex. The body kicks, I definitely think he could have a lot of success. The body kick, obviously you have to be a little bit of a closer range than the push kick, but Pereira really sells out to block the head. Again, he's a world-class kickboxer, one of the best in the world, but
he kind of blocks with his forearm, so you kind of just
he blocks away from his body,
yeah,
right? Which is
like he's holding pads.
He's made of steel, so he's not gonna. I don't suspect he'll break a forearm, but he does block away from his body. He sells out to block the head, leaves big openings for the body, especially with the question mark kick. So hammering those body kicks, I think, could be huge. It did back Alex up. Again, if you can't circle in a low kick, circle in a body kick, so that'll open up his inside low kick. And he does fights a lot of open stance against Alex because he wants to control that lead hand.
Right, 100%.
So inside low kick, which is not checked as often, as well as throwing that body kick to back Alex up. And I think I'll let you keep going, Jens, but you're on the topic of kicks. Throw more high kicks, even if they're not having success. But again, we're talking a lot of southpaw kicks, but in orthodox, throw that right kick up, and just the more he's having to Pereira's having a block with that lead hand, he's not throwing his left hook. Again, you could Dutch block and left hook back, but I trust Izzy to stay at a range.
No, that's very fit.
But occupy that lead hand. Get in southpaw, throw that right jab. A lot of his jabbing came from orthodox in the fight. Throw that right jab. Keep that lead hand of Pereira as busy defending as possible. And unless you have something to chime in on, Hayden, I'll let you keep going, Jens.
Yeah, no. So what was I gonna say? I liked a lot of what you were saying. I feel like we are gonna see a lot of southpaw open stance battle from Izzy. Because like you said, I feel like we're going to see a lot of the inside low kicks, which are rarely checked or more rare compared to the outside. I think we're going to see a lot of body kicks, a lot of push kicks again, that's more common from an open stance to throw that push kick or hammer away a good body kick. And I do think he's going to switch a lot from orthodox and really thread the kicks behind the punches there. Throw the long jab, and then, like you said, throw the right high kick behind it.
That's a great call. That was in my notes. Throw your kicks off your punches because he does sell out. Again, he blocks away from his body. He reaches a lot for the jab, and that's why he shut it down. He was really overcommitting. Throw those high kicks behind the punches. The left cross, the left high kick, the jab, the right high kick.
And I like that. I like that. Thank you. And I like that other thing you said about just throwing out that right high kick. It doesn't even necessarily need to land. It's just to more or less occupy that left hand and taking damage. Because if you're taking kicks from Izzy for 20 minutes, your left arm is going to be dead. You follow what I'm saying? So you're going to be throwing it less often. It's going to be more occupied. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of kicks and a lot of feints. This goes without saying, it's low-hanging fruit, but he needs to stay disciplined for 25 minutes. Because, I mean, again, as we all know, Pereira was making those slight adjustments to get that finish. But at the same time, was he really? Because he was getting wrestled for 2 rounds before that, before the finish. You know what I mean? So how much adjustments was he making on the feet while he was getting wrestled for, let's say, 8 minutes?
Yeah, no, that's true.
So, yeah, that's me.
I think
What you got, James?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
We just stole your
like
flow.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I think a lot of like shifting, you mentioned like the stance shifting off of the push kick, but like a lot of just shifting strikes in general, I think could lead itself to opening up the low kick too, or a takedown. A lot of Alex's defensive tendencies, or I shouldn't say a lot, but he can have moments in his defensive tendencies where he does lean back a while.
He's weird.
Yeah,
he does weird things.
Yeah, and so like whenever you see Adesanya throw that shifting left straight from orthodox or southpaw, I talk about this a lot. It garnered the leaning back from Alex, and that can open up two things: the low kick or the takedown. I think that's going to be a big thing for Adesanya. I think we can all agree. I shouldn't say that because Hayden's always a wild card. But do we agree that Izzy's going to have to wrestle in this fight at least a little bit to win?
Yo. I took a little disrespect out of a wild card. I just say how it is. You feel what I'm saying? But to put it generally, it's going to be my opening statement for my breakdown coming out on Friday.
Stop.
Stay tuned.
Bro, it doesn't matter.
You got to pay if you want to plug this many promos.
I think whoever makes this more of an MMA fight wins the fight. Would y'all agree?
Yeah, that's a great statement. So
you
do agree.
Very general baseline.
Amazing high-level MMA analysis. If you want to win, fight MMA.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm just messing with you.
Whoever wins more punches and kicks is going to win the fight. It's just simple as.
I think whoever wins more rounds, I think will win this fight.
Yeah, but no, just in one sentence, whoever makes it more of an MMA fight opposed to just a kickboxing fight, I think is going to win.
No, yeah, that's a great point. I think we have to see a significant development in Adesanya's offensive wrestling because it did not look that great.
Can I cut you off 1 second before I forget? ADHD and all that.
Yes.
Who do you think needs to make more improvements? And B, do you think we see more of a safer Pereira in this fight, knowing he's defending the belt now?
Good questions. Good question.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. But
I think it'll be the same savage Alex that's just going to walk your ass down.
I just don't think he has that. I don't think he has that defensive.
No.
He's not getting put on the back foot.
He's got one mode, and it's just I'm walking forward.
So, but who do you think has to? Who do you think has to adjust more, Izzy or Pereira?
I think the dude who lost 3 times. I think Izzy has. I think Izzy has to make adjustments more than Alex does. I think that's not to say that Alex shouldn't make adjustments. Of course, he has a lot to work on in his own right, especially if he wants to have a long run at middleweight, which he probably won't. I'd imagine him moving up, but that's another topic. Right. I think Adesanya is going to have to make the proper adjustments in his wrestling game. I think he in the clinch and in open space. Now, I'd like to see him use a lot of his energy on open space takedowns. Now, that is going to be tough given his frame. The tall, lanky dudes, they're not that great of open space wrestlers traditionally. It's a lot more difficult. But in the clinch, it's going to be hard to take them down. So I'd like to see maybe like a good single leg game out of Izzy or something like that. Make the big guy balance.
He's not landing no damn double leg in open space.
He's too big.
He's gonna high crotch in DC.
Oh god, just flip him.
Final predictions. Who are we taking? I'm going Izzy.
I don't know.
I can't not go Izzy. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I've been flip-flopping for like a month. Eric, you pick so I can muster up some courage to say something.
I don't know, dude.
I don't.
Oh, dude, wow.
I've been flipping so much. I want to say Alex.
Y'all's ego is so big. Like, I remember when we were the biggest Izzy fans around. Now, you just
I'm going to be cheering my ass off for him.
I bet you are. But take Pereira. All right, Jens, who you got? Because Eric got Pereira. Hold on. I see what side he's on.
Man.
I feel like we said nothing about what Pereira can do to improve.
What's he gonna do to improve? What do you reckon?
Gotta not look like an idiot on the ground. I think.
Oh, for sure. I think there's still more like he can build off. Like if he gets like the more work he does with his jab, like his jab was unbelievable in that fight. Just jabbing at Izzy's chest. If
Yeah.
he could be proactive looking for the clinch, right? It was mostly
Yeah.
Izzy putting the clinch on his terms. Alex is brutal in the clinch.
Uses his frame very well.
Dude, when he got that forearm on Izzy and he was just
He
big
was just being a
buzzing him,
bully.
dude.
Yeah. That
Oh
was
yeah,
just
he's
huge.
just so strong, and he generates leverage over Izzy, which is crazy. I think he'll look to wrestle quite a bit more, actually.
Yeah, I
Well,
could see
it's
that.
not
Does
saying
Pereira
much
have
because
the gas tank to wrestle more though?
but
That's a good point.
he doesn't have the gas tank to fail takedowns, but he can shoot a couple, and he could, high level fighters, especially, kickboxing, the fights are short, even when it's 3 5-minute rounds, but they're an absolute marathon. I think he'll find.
I feel like that's an early investment, anyways. It's not something you do and throw all 25 minutes.
No,
It's kind of like
that's a good
low
point.
kicks. It's
Yeah,
kind
we're
of like
not-
low kicks. You
high,
have
high level
low
fighters
kicks.
can find places of rest, like whether it's in, like, I think a good example was Fizzy versus RDA. Like Fizzy found moments of kind of stalling on the fence line to rest.
Well, you see that in 5 rounds. Usually, say the third round is like the rest round.
And he took a round off in the
Yeah.
last fight,
Look at that
fourth
fourth
round
round.
off,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
got the finish in the 5th round. Like pretty clearly, kind of took the round off.
For sure.
Yeah, that's something DC always would do. He said, like, I think the third round was always his round to take off.
Kind of what I just said.
But
Crazy.
yeah, no, I think I'm gonna go with Izzy.
my God.
Just slightly, because I trust his work ethic. I trust his ability to improve and adapt. I think him losing is gonna put a fire underneath him. Man, I expect him to come out. I'm not saying he should. I'm expecting him to come out with at least a competent offensive wrestling game. I expect him to come out with an answer in some form or another, to not be pressured as much. I'm not saying he has to dominate the octagon control for the entire fight. That's pretty much impossible with someone like Alex. I'm expecting it. So I'm going with Izzy just slightly. Would not be shocked at all if Alex won this fight by knockout. If he won it by decision, would not be shocked.
I'm sorry, not to cut you off.
No,
I'm
you're
just
good.
interested to see where the division goes from no matter who wins, right? Because if Pereira wins, obviously they're not going to do that again. But it doesn't seem like he's probably going to stick around for middleweight too much longer. So what do they really do then? And Izzy said he wasn't going to be around for too much longer either. So that's always interesting as well. But now Izzy wins. Do they do a third? Probably not. I don't think they can shaft Whitaker again. You know
They'll
what
do
I
a
mean?
third.
I think they
Yeah.
do a third.
I
They'll
could
do a
understand
third.
it. I
It's
could
the
understand
nature
as to
of
why,
UFC.
The
but-
fans eat this. They love this matchup. The fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just the nature of modern day UFC, where it's like a lot of trilogies, a lot of it's what they do. Like, this is a
Yeah.
humongous fight.
So Izzy wins, they do trilogy, and then Pereira wins, they obviously do Whitaker.
They always do a big December card. Like, if Izzy wins, they'll probably do that trilogy on that big December card.
Okay.
All right, just because
But-
we can't,
all right.
we can't all take Izzy. I'll go Pereira.
He's an op. Eric
I don't
is
blame
an
you. I
op,
kind of
bro.
want to go Pereira too. He's so cool.
He's- I don't want to. Like, he's
But
the
you pack the
coolest
bumps.
dude. Not
Yeah.
Pack
not
of
as cool as
bumps.
Cheeto, but still pretty cool.
He looks
Cheeto.
so dense.
Cheeto
like,
is so beatable, bro.
Cheeto? Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
Wow, it's almost like we watched him lose last weekend.
Oh, real quick, another thing, just real quick, I could see Izzy benefiting off of is the stance of Alex really lends himself to, takedowns with how upright he is. I could see a lot of success with Izzy when just given the stance alone from Alex.
Right. So James, go get get Eric.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, there's even more stuff Izzy could do. Like I could see him throwing like cross hand traps, throwing his jab, and rather than leaving it out there, he parries down the opposite hand and throws his right hand, because Pereira's not a big cross counter threat, although he did knock out Izzy once with a cross counter, but doesn't really throw it often. There's so many different little things that Izzy could do to win. And I do trust his work ethic, but there's even more Alex can build off as well. And I just to be a contrarian, I'll take Pereira by finish, second round.
Yeah, I'll say I'm taking Izzy by finish. I'm throwing that in the money line.
All right, we got to move on, boys. We got to move
Yeah,
on.
I was gonna say Eric. I'm sorry, Jens. I'm gonna need you to take that incitement, and I'm gonna need to hear that beef of the week, because you've been chatting a lot about it. You've been feeling real enthusiastic. My phone's at 10%. Let me hear it.
Okay. So beef of the week, if y'all don't know, real quick, is a segment where we are just going to pick anything from everyday life. It might be MMA most of the time. Maybe it's not. We're just this is basically us just venting for about like 5 minutes.
Jens is a lefty, so he likes to talk about his problems.
So my beef of the week is with dudes who do not brush their tongue when they brush their teeth, dude. Oh my! I saw this
No
post.
way. This is what you've been sitting on all
Bro,
week.
you've been
Dude,
This is
doing
what you
this?
came with.
It's been
No
bothering
way.
me. It's been bothering me for
Damn.
weeks. I saw this Sports Center post
Oh
of like
my
this one soccer
goodness.
player. I don't know who he is because I don't watch soccer a whole lot. But he like did this celebration where he stuck out his tongue and it looked like he had just fried bacon and took the grease and just put it straight down his
More
tongue.
flavor.
Dude, it's like brush
Wait,
your tongue,
You
dude.
you need to dig something better than this.
No,
Fuck's sake.
no, I'm sticking with this because it bothers
So wait,
me.
let me ask you a question. And if the answer is no, which it is going to be no, the conversation's over. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
My beef
Alright.
of the week is
Do-
Boston guys picking Boston guys to win. Oh, Rob Fawn's gonna put on a
Alright.
show.
Do
Oh,
you-
he's
do
gonna
you-
throw
Fawn.
200
Do
significant
you
strikes
have
and
one of
still
those
get
tongue
knocked
scrapers?
out.
Do you have one of those tongue scrapers?
No, that's weird.
All right, then shut your mouth. How are you
No,
going to talk about
because-
people? You know, you
'cause
don't
I
even clean
brush
your tongue
it.
properly.
You can
don't
just
even
brush
clean
it.
But you listen to me.
Just
Listen
brush
to me.
it.
You leave 77% of germs on your tongue by just brushing it.
Oh
You
my
need that
god.
little
Okay,
tongue scraper.
Colgate. Where'd these
All right.
stats come from?
Listen, don't worry about where it came from. I'm an encyclopedia. You feel me?
Mr. Scope over here.
Fuck's sake.
dog.
Now, we're moving on to Mr. Matty over there. Watch your lip, all right? Rob's gonna get it done. It's too high level. You know
You're
what I'm
just
saying?
stalling so you could come up with
Giannis
your
is-
beef of the week.
Stop! I'm cooking right now. Giannis has 3 regional losses, and you're gonna sit here and tell me he's gonna lose to Roberto Font, whatever. He looks like a Roberto.
My
The
boys
new-
threw 500 significant strikes against Cheeto and lost like 49-46.
Empty stats, dude. Oh my god, we're
Oh,
already.
there it is. Keep waiting for that one.
I'm messing with you. Rob's got a good
Pack of
chance. I'm really
bombs.
excited.
Yeah, he's got a good chance. Yeah. Hot take.
Yeah.
You have a couple of follow-up questions before I hop off here?
No, I just need y'all's beef of the week.
I gave my beef of the week.
Oh,
Okay.
I give you one? Oh, I'll give you one.
Make it quick. We're running out of time here.
Oh, it's gonna be real quick. Eric, fuck it. All right.
Uh-oh.
The people that subscribe to Starbucks, I like a good Starbucks. Do not get me wrong.
Say it
It's like-
one more time, nice and slow.
The people that
No,
subscribe
no. Just the location.
Starbucks.
One more time.
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Whatever.
That's my beef of the week.
Whatever.
Like, bro, Starbucks is great. I love myself a good Starbucks. But Dunkin' is just as good. You know, we don't care that you spend $9.72 on a coffee. You can go to Dunkin' Donuts to get one just as good for $3.68. I
Yep.
just don't understand what the big wazoo is. I go once a Saturday. It's my treat. But what are we doing here? Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, you got a problem. You need to see a doctor.
Yeah, if you subscribe to, I feel like if you subscribe to any sort of like food thing, it's a little weird. Unless you just got that type of money, then
I mean,
good on
I'm
you.
a Dunkin' guy. You feel what I'm saying? Dunkin' sucks, but I don't know. I just feel like it's just like it's like people. Ooh, here's another one. I'm gonna ponytail off of that one.
Doubling up.
It's like people that say, ooh. It's like people that say the books are better than the movie.
No, and they
Shut
try
your
it.
mouth.
No, and they try and do it with this like superiority complex, like, oh, it was better in the book.
We don't care that you read the book, right?
Yeah.
Just the movie was way better.
Yeah,
His
you're not
pictures.
smart, dude. I like
Bro.
watching freaking. It's just I don't know. That I agree with that 100%. The
Thank you.
nerds that think they're being all smart and cool by being like,
Yeah.
oh, in the book they actually did this and it wasn't in the movie. We don't care.
Yeah.
No one cares, dude. You're a
Nobody gives a
nerd.
bollocks.
You read like
Yeah.
watch a movie, have some friends over. Okay, that was good. That was a good little venting exercise we did there.
We
We'll
gotta do that
come
at
up.
the beginning.
Yeah, we'll come up with some more heat. I guess on the next episode, I'll actually like plan out a good one because apparently not brushing your teeth is like fine with y'all.
It was just we expected a little more. It was
Yeah,
Dude, you can't tell me that's
You were
not
cooking.
disgusting.
Okay. Sub questions. We got 7
Okay,
minutes.
we got subscriber questions. We're gonna fly through these. First of all, what's y'all's favorite Anderson Silva finish?
Forrest Griffin.
yeah. I guess I'd say Forrest as well. I mean, that one's trademark, isn't it?
I might go with Vitor Chael.
The Vitor one was cool, but like 35 people do it on the regional scene every other weekend now, so it's not as cool.
I like the Stephen Bonner one. That one slept on. The timing him up, bouncing off the fence, leading
Oh,
him
you know
into the
what?
knee.
I'm gonna
That
go.
was
I'm
pretty
gonna
cool.
go Rich Franklin 1, UFC
Ooh,
64,
yeah,
UFC 64.
That was
Get
brutal.
drop your dates. Where's your dates at? What do you fight Forrest
Bonner.
Griffin?
Oh, Forrest Griffin. That was on the same
No,
card
no,
that
no. You don't have
TJ
to
King
answer. That was
fought
Eric's.
somebody.
That was
It was in
Eric's
okay,
answer.
okay. In Philadelphia.
Born
I
and
didn't ask you where
raised
it
on
was.
the
I asked you for a
playground
number.
of US.
Oh, okay. Well, then I win. I don't need to say what number it was. I don't give a damn. It was in Philadelphia.
Nobody gives a bollocks that it was in. Who
The
cares
Chris,
about Philly?
wait, the Chris Lieben, UFC Fight Night 3, I think, or 5. Anyways,
Something like that.
okay,
Okay, next
Anyways.
question.
okay.
Next question.
Where do y'all have them ranked on GOAT list?
4.
Same,
4.
4.
Four.
Okay. Let's see. We're gonna skip the one champions versus UFC champions. No offense, my boy Derek, but like the only one that's gonna be competitive is Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have some
But
flaming...
Reiner de Ritter.
we have some flaming hot takes. Rob Font has a very good chance of beating Adrian Yanez. Yeah, come on now. Stipe does not deserve a title shot.
Smash.
Yeah, exactly.
Smash.
This is probably the one that we could actually put like some actual time into because it's not like we all
You're
agree
gonna shout
on
out the people saying the questions so we can give them a shout out.
Okay, shout out UFC Silva. Shout out Derek Mitchum. Shout out Uncle Charlie Olive. Shout out Nolan Garther. Shout out Matt.
You gotta say with that question, you knob.
Just
All right,
go in order.
we'll
I
be
did it
cleaner
in
next
order.
week. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Best way / fights to make for Petr Yan to get back to the belt.
Oh, let me take this one.
Go for
Go
it.
ahead, son.
Simple answer. I'll speak for everybody. Just
Yes.
needs to win fights.
Oh my god. Give me one name, bro.
He's just gonna win fights. It doesn't matter who it is. You're just gonna win fights.
He's just
That's
gonna
what
lose
get
by
there.
split decision because he
No,
didn't go
it's
all
tough
out
to
in the
see.
first
We have
round.
to see where we have to see where the landscape goes. But I think it's gonna be the winner of Robin Yanez.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I like that.
And a
then
great matchup for him.
So he wins that.
For sure.
Like, let's say he beats Rob or Yanez. I feel like he could easily beat not easily, but you
He's
get what I'm saying.
he's gonna need 2 more.
Okay, so 2 more
would
fights.
smoke both of them, but yeah.
Okay, so he smokes Rob or Font, Jesus Christ, Rob or Yanez, and who should he fight? I mean, now we're getting into like the distant future, or probably like a year removed now. We say he fights like a who has he not fought?
It doesn't matter. We have to see how the landscape is, bro.
That's
Injuries and stuff like that.
That's true. So we're thinking he's probably 3 fights away.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, 3 fights away.
3 wins.
Will he get the title back? Where would you place your money right now? Does Petr Yan one day become champ again?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna say if I'm
Smash.
a betting man, I'm saying no. I just can't say a dude who's on a 3-fight lost 4
You're
of
lucky
his
we're
last
like 14
5.
hours away because we be having hands right now.
I'm not betting. Sorry, I'm not betting on a dude that lost 4 of his last 5 to get the title back. He's probably the most talented bantamweight on the planet, but like, dude's got the same.
Oh my!
Oh,
that ain't a flex, bro.
You see the gold?
dude, he ain't got no gold no more. You got to burn that thing. That thing's
He
outdated.
was 20, bro. He has more championships than your football team at 28 years of age.
That's just not true.
Yes, it is.
The Bucks have 2. He has 2.
And he's a single player at 28 years of age. And how long have the Bucks been in establishment for? Yeah.
Don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it.
All right, next question.
No, that's it.
Oh, that's
so
it?
we got some very ice cold takes. There's one more by UFC Silva again. He says Pereira outclasses Izzy for 5 rounds and wins 50-45 or 49-46.
It is a hot take, but if he's outclassing Izzy, I think he's gonna finish him. Like
exactly. That's the only way. Yeah. He's not just gonna tap him up. He'll finish him.
We're so dismissive, then watch it actually happen. Anyway, that's all the questions we got.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
All right.
Do we have
really
any plugs?
appreciate everybody for listening. The plugs, Hayden, our boy at Last Round Luz on all platforms. Last Round Luz. You got to give my man a follow. He's
Appreciate
with the
that.
shits, as the kids say. They don't say that, but the man's the hardest working man on TikTok. Up late 2 a.m. in the trenches, grinding film every night.
No cap.
Shout out Jens at flagrant.sports. I do believe that's your boy right there. Some of the best takes in the sport. Great takedowns.
I don't know about that.
Or takedowns, great breakdowns. I should
Great
say.
takedowns.
I definitely don't have great takedowns.
He definitely does not have great takedowns. My boy pulls guard. That's all you got to know.
we're getting there.
And
yeah.
And at Eric Matty MMA on TikTok. Give me a follow. And thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that stuff. Share. We'll be back next. We're going to try to do these on Tuesdays. So we'll be back next Tuesday. Actually, I guess we'll be out on Wednesday. So we'll be back next Wednesday. recap UFC 287 and preview the next following card. So really appreciate you guys listening. And any final words?
Appreciate
thank you guys for listening. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot smoother. We're just kind of working out the kinks with this episode, but just get through it. Just get through this, and we're smooth sailing.
But,
and leave a comment who your least favorite one is of us. All right. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, see you guys. Bye.